Guys, another Sales Wisdom podcast. A legend's there with us today, James Buckley. He is host at Sell Better. You probably listened to his pod. An interesting guy. We were talking about the brain pre-pod, and yeah, this is going to be pretty fun. James, can you introduce yourself and tell us about your businesses?
What's poppin', everybody? I am James Say What Sales Buckley. Hashtag Say What Sales. If you're a salesperson, we're the same person. That's what you see online, and that's what it is. I have the best job in the world. My job is to host a daily show where I get to interview the best sales brains in the business and get their best practices, their opinions, their experiences for everybody that comes to the show so that they can learn from the best and start putting things in action that get better results for them. Our job, plain and simple, is to help you sell better.
Love it. Your energy is quite contagious. I guess you have got that before.
I do get it often. I think that energy is a huge part of sales success. And my belief will always be that the people that gravitate towards my energy are most likely to purchase from me. And the people that don't care for my level of energy, they have another buyer, another seller out there that will sell well to them. Just because somebody says no to you doesn't mean they don't like you or that they won't buy from you. It just means your energy does not fit what their expectations are. And that's okay. We all have certain personalities that we gravitate towards and certain personalities that we run away from.
Right. I fully agree with that. Should I call it the energy theory of sales or whatever? It's like brain waves, and do they match or not? I can sense kindness in your energy. I can sense patience. Your background also tells a lot. I think you're Irish, right? Is it fair?
I am of Irish descent. I have 3 or 4 Irish flags all around me. And then I spend a lot of time in Africa as well. So I'm very well traveled. I travel quite a bit. My wife and I are on the way back to Mexico in a couple of weeks, and then off to Scotland in 2024. Travel is essential if you would like to expand your mind. It's a big wide world out there. Go see a lot of it.
100%, man. Well, I'm 25% Irish myself. I visit Ireland, I think it was 3 years ago. We did the full island. Africa on my list next year, and I'm in Mexico. So whenever you're there, you just hit me up. I'll show you the top spots. Nice to talk today. Well, if you could tell us about the pod. Usually it's one of my favorite topics. How do you get your guests to come on? What kind of questions you ask them? Any insights or tips for us when it comes to podcasting?
So first of all, it started as a daily internet show. So we are live every day on Zoom. You can register at our upcoming shows at sellbetter.xyz. We turned it into a podcast because it was in high demand. People were saying things to us like, I would like to be able to listen to this in my car, but it's distracting to have it on my phone. And if I turn it off, I can't hear it anymore. Some people didn't want the visual because they wanted to be able to listen while they're at the gym or on the treadmill or walking or exercising. So we had to conform so that our audience could get what they wanted. Sell Better is live every single day. We want to highlight best practices, actionable tips, no matter where you are in the sales journey. Our belief is that every seller is on a path, and that path typically looks like this. I was a bartender yesterday, and I'm a sales development representative today, calling people that aren't expecting to hear from me, sending emails to strangers, reaching out on social to people I don't know. And then a year or 2 later, I'm an account executive. I am demoing a product, or I'm showing someone a service, and then they are closing with me. They're signing a document saying they're going to pay for that. Then I'm a customer success rep, and that is upsell, cross-sell, land and expand, referrals, recommendations, introductions. They sit closest to revenue, in my opinion, new revenue, because they know who they sell best to and they know what their products can do for people, and specific people at that. After that, it's the leadership route. This is a huge path. If this could be 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, depending on an individual's aptitude for learning a new skill, trying something, collecting the data, and doubling down on what's work to find success. And that is different for every single human. So we want to provide value no matter where you are on that journey.
So how do you extract value out of your guests? How do you create the best convo? It's a lot about myself. Sadly enough, I'm still at this point in my podcast, which is to extract knowledge myself. And I assume my audience somewhat similar to myself. So I get to ask these weird questions sometimes, which have zero value for the audience. As I told you when we started that, any tips for how to get the best out of someone and for themselves, obviously, also on a podcast interview?
Absolutely. So I will answer that question along with your first question, which was how do I get my guests? And
Right.
it don't do it alone. That's my secret. John, Chris Merrill, Vicky, Maria, Kevin, Kelly, all of us, Leslie Douglas, we all contribute to who needs to be on the show, what we're going to talk about. Hey, what do you think about this line of questioning? Does this talk track look right? Don't do it alone and it will be better. I promise you that. Everybody sees me hosting the show. What they don't see are the 6 people that make it so that I can host to the best of my ability. So shout out to all the folks I just mentioned and more for being in my corner consistently. They help me to find the guest, schedule the guest, set up the pre-call so we can plan out what this conversation is going to look like. Even if we have a rough outline, it helps us to keep a good conversational flow and have a linear thought for everybody that's listening, tuning in, watching. In addition to that, there are loads of resources that we give away at the show. We put stuff in the chat so you can go download 50 calls to action or go download these opening sentences that capture attention or these subject lines that are high performing. We drop that stuff in the chat constantly. And that's why people like want to come to the show and be engaged. And that's what you're after. You're after creating an engaging experience. Joe Rogan did not create everything that he created because it was not engaging conversation. It has to be engaging for the guest and it has to be engaging for the target audience.
Love it, man. Such great tips. And yeah, it makes me feel kind of small with my one-man team. I did have someone for my podcast as a manager not so long ago, but yeah, had to let go for performance issues. My next question is related to ROI, so that's very much social selling. I do
Sure.
think direct selling is almost gone. The days in which you ask someone if they need that like immediately is a bit too early, lacks the trust factor and so forth. Would you agree with that? And is that why JB Sales really focuses on the show to actually generate some leads?
No, I think that we created the show to generate buzz and provide value to a community at large that needed to be evolving at the time. What I would say though is that when you come to the conversation with a list of questions, those questions are topic specific throughout the conversation, but there are staples for everything that you do. My opener, for example, first of all, we don't generate leads for us. We generate leads for sponsors, right? Our partners are part of our ecosystem and our show. You hear me say it at the intro. Big shout out to Vouch. Big shout out to Vidyard. Big shout out to Gong. I say these things all the time because these are our partners. So we create leads and awareness. Big shout out to Wonderway, right? All of our teams that we shout out like that, they get a lot of recognition from the audience members in the show. People hear it and they go, oh, what the F is Wonderway, right? And they go and they check out Wonderway. And before we know it, Mafalda and Bowen from Wonderway are reaching out to me going, hey, we got some leads from you guys, right? This is part and parcel to why influencer marketing is becoming part of sales. Salespeople are starting to become marketers. These lines are being blurred in a big way in 2023. Now, I'll also mention that we live in the age of critical events. Your question to me was, do I think the days of asking someone if they need something are gone? I don't think they are. What I do think is that the way we ask if someone needs something is different right now. We have to present a value and then show an impact. When it comes to ROI, it's like a dirty word in our space right now. What's the ROI? If that's your question as a decision maker, maybe you shouldn't be a decision maker. There's how much time are you going to put into it? Whatever it is, it doesn't matter. If you're not going to put the time into it, you're going to get a low ROI from whatever it is, right? So there's like, what's the ROI? Well, I don't plan on putting any time into it. Well, then you can expect a low ROI, right? So
Right.
the ROI conversation, very easy to thwart right now, but attaching your value to a critical event, this is the modern era that we all live in right now. What critical event is happening that I can attach my wagon to, because that is what's going to pull my deal over the finish line.
Right. I don't think it's just or age, but just scientifically, there's always a precise response for someone's precise case. And it's never black or white. It's very much gray. It's like, how much time do you want me to spend analyzing your problem and giving you the right answer to your question, which is always very, very complex. And yes, indeed, the more time you spend, the more ROI. My question was more podcasting, quote unquote, compared to other platforms or other efforts that I do have, is it higher ROI? Which I think that the answer would be yes. And what would be the other channels? Is it like
I don't think
LinkedIn
it's any
posts?
higher in conversion. I think it
Okay,
is higher in engagement.
right,
My opinion is still that no matter what channel you use, you're only going to see a certain percentage of conversion. This
right,
channel is no different. The difference is that it's a much bigger channel.
right,
That's the difference.
right,
Content creation yields a massive following when done consistently over time,
right.
right? Content over time equals audience. That's
Mm,
the equation. So if we are constantly live every day and we always have anywhere from 30 to 40% quote net new people that have never been to the show before, we
wow.
stand the potential to be able to market to a certain percentage of those people naturally. Fortunately for us, we have extremely intelligent humans that work for us, and they've leveraged a lot of things like AI and sales engagement technology to be able to make it the best experience for the buyers, for the attendees that come and are interested. They must raise their hand. They must schedule a call themselves. They must take the step. We will not do it. We do it on the outbound side so that we can figure out what's working.
Right,
And we spend a lot of time doing it. The inbound side looks completely different. This is a completely different conversation. It's not the same as holding, capturing, and then holding and maintaining attention throughout a sales cycle. No, no, you came in saying, I need this. That looks very, very different in the modern selling environment.
huh. So are you saying, well, you do follow up on a newsletter with them, I would guess, but you do not push them to book a meeting. It is more on their side to
That's right.
actually do
Let,
the pull effort.
That's right. Let me tell it to you the way it was told to me. John Barrows said this to me many years ago, and it's stuck with me my entire life so far since he said it. It's not your job as a sales professional to convince somebody or persuade them that they need what you have. It's your job to sell what you have to the people that need it. That looks and feels very different on
Right.
purpose. It's supposed to feel that way.
Right. It's like puzzle piece to like their little Tetris whole. I love this. And yeah, to present the information, in my opinion, just say it like this is what I do. And I think I did my homework well. Here's a quadrant, here's my competition, and try to paint the most accurate portrait of reality there is. That's the stage I'm at which I'm at right now.
I think it depends. You will grow through multiple stages in your sales careers. Younger salespeople tend to be a little apprehensive. They're pretty reclusive. They're resistant to being too aggressive. They feel like they're going to rub somebody the wrong way. More veteran sellers, they are like Bilal Batrawi. That's a friend of mine, Mr. Death to Fluff himself. This man is the most straightforward human you'll ever meet, but he's also very nice. When he asks you a question that is direct, he asks it with like a pretty red bow wrapped around it. You don't even really feel like he's overstepping. This is how veteran sellers have grown into the sales role to become less invasive and more genuinely curious about their prospects and what their current situations and needs are. We have to evolve and constantly change our approach. Not for long, though. Don't give up on the things that work now, because in a year, they're going to circle back and they're going to start working again. This is a cyclical industry. If you recognize that, you can get off the hamster wheel.
What degree of A/B test should I include in my call? Should it be 10% on some new lines or some new questions, or
I
more
think
or
it's
less?
lower, actually. I think 1%. We have to be so prescriptive right now. We have to write the same email 3 times, but use 3 different subject lines so that we can figure out which subject line is the one for that email. We have to send it to more than 20 people, probably more like 200, to have like an actual data set to look at and go, well, we got 80 people to open this email. You know, of the 200, we had 80 people open the email. So the subject line clearly gets a decent open rate, relatively decent open rate. We're almost, 50% there, but now look at the click rate. Only 1% of those 50 people clicked the link. So what am I saying in the body of my email that needs to be adjusted? Let's use the best performing subject line with 80 opens, but let's do 3 different versions of the body of the email now. And let's find the one that works best for clicks. You see what I'm saying? This is the scientific brain that we have to develop, the mind frame that we have to develop to be able to consistently evolve as a sales professional. If you're constantly being told what to do and you're a metric hitter, you're going to fall out of the leaky bucket at the end of the year, every year. And you're going to be one of those people that are constantly saying online, I'm on the market again, and blaming your previous employer, and then talking about why you're having a hard time getting hired. Well, quit bitching about your previous employer and figure out what you need to change about you that makes you a better seller.
Words. If I could drop a bomb like Bradley does, I'd drop it. Okay. I was also referring to, like, in your calls as a closer / account manager, like what kind of A/B test should I drop and how should I measure them? Should it be with apps like Gong? Apollo has developed another feature recently that is similar to that. Should that be the way? And then what kind of quantity / scale should I hit with that?
Okay, so when it comes to testing on closing, there's really only one metric that matters, and that is the converted to paid customer number. If it were me, I would be going back to all my closed won and my closed lost deals, and I would be looking at the patterns that I can pick out that led me to close won those deals. Then I would go back to my closed lost deals and I would compare them to the patterns in my closed won deals. And I'd say, what did I do different in these? Or where did I derail from this path that won deals? Because that is the thing that needs to be adjusted for. That's the pinpoint, if you will, on the trail that you can drop that pin and go right here, I need to make a change. When they say this, if I say this, I lose. But if I say this, I win. From now on, when they say this, if I can ethically, I'm going to say that other thing that wins.
Right. I want to ask, like, role related questions. In your case, do you still do some cold calls? Do you still do some
Every day.
actual SDR work? And then what
Every
do you
day.
do with them? Like, how do you convert that into content?
So it depends. If they're an individual contributor, I'm doing one of 2 things. I am calling to, 1, invite them to a show that is relevant to them. So, we're doing
Good
a
offer.
show on email prospecting. You should come because I know that you write emails to cold prospects, right? Oh, great. Thanks for the invite. But if they're a team leader, I'm often talking to them about one of 2 things. Would you like to learn more about how we help your sellers to sell better? Or would you like to talk to John about your sales kickoff that's coming up, and he could come out and do a training session with your team, right? So I have those angles. Or I'm talking to a marketer that leads a team of marketers for a SaaS company, and I'm like, you should sponsor Sell Better because we will help you out, provide you with great leads that came to the show to reach out to with great context. The things that we talk about are relevant to the value that you bring to the table. This makes sense. Once you get good at doing outreach for a specific reason, for some reason, you look for opportunities to do that outreach because you get good at it. It's a chance to highlight your skills for you. Keep the sword sharp, so to speak. I love it when I find somebody that's like, great show. I'd love to find out more about how my name can be on your show. And I'm like, great. Here's a quick link. Let's schedule 15. I'll tell you all about it. So then you're on the call and you're like, all right, so you reached out originally and you said you wanted to learn more about that. Why do you want to learn more about that? And they go like this. This is always the way it goes. All right, here's the story. And I just shut the fuck up.
Let
It's
them do the
hard for
rest.
me. Trust me. It's very difficult for me. but I'll shut my mouth so that they can tell me that story. And that story almost immediately leads into, well, let me tell you a little bit about the sponsorship program, the partnership program we have, and how that might change things on that front. And I talk only about the things they just told me, right?
Hmm.
This, and then I say, do you want to learn more? Do you want to talk about it with our director of partnerships? We can all three hop on a call. It'll be great. You got your calendar in front of you? Very conversational. This takes 15 minutes or less sometimes.
Yeah, I like the shutting up strategy too. I'm a question asker, so I'm not that much of a silent person. I get to where I want to get quite quickly, whether it's, I think there's lots of benefits from a data perspective, but a bit less with the closing perspective in doing that. But I
Tell
think
me more about that. What do you mean when you say that?
yeah, what I mean about the question is that I get the data I want to get for multiple new products that I'm working on in R&D innovations, tactics that I'm working on, new products, new markets, for example. So I get data of them. But
And you use that data in those conversations, right?
yes, but
And you see how I'm
that
asking you questions, but I'm really making statements, don't you?
yes, I'm. That's quite good. Yeah, that maybe I could add that to my ammunition vest. Yeah, that's I like that. Maybe I should practice that a bit more in the calls with them. But and I'm still working also on my question asking skills. I think that one quality question can lead you immediately to where they want to go and where you want to go, and that is like a non-AGI skill, I do believe.
Oh,
Um,
sure.
but yeah, no, it's super interesting. I'm getting insights while I'm talking to you. I just come back to the topic of content creation. What type of content nowadays are you seeing that really 10x's meet? Like I'm gonna start. It's not the content necessarily, but for example, the YouTube Shorts. I can see that there's definitely more views in there. Tell us about platforms or concepts that you see that are working super well in the sales content field.
Yeah, I would agree with you about the YouTube shorts. Those are coming up real strong. Ever since the CEO performed like a champion, TikTok has been performing quite well too. I'll also mention that the long form posts on LinkedIn have taken a step forward. We've seen a lot of great posts that when you click see more, there are short, very Hemingway-esque sentences, right? Punctuated, separated by lines. This type of long form post tends to get a lot of engagement right now. The videos that are under a minute tend to struggle right now, but the videos that are 3 or more minutes, they have some good algorithm love happening at the moment. Don't I don't know when this gets released, if it's live or what, but I'll tell you right now, it could change as soon as tomorrow. The algorithm is so unpredictable these days, especially on LinkedIn. I can't say the same for other platforms. That tends to be pretty consistent. But for LinkedIn specifically, I think that algo changes like every 30 minutes. And we just have no idea what's going to slap and what's going to fall flat. So that's an interesting concept to think about while you're creating content. Another thing that is on the rise, and this is a prediction for me, we will see long form articles come back to popularity thanks to Chat GPT. So many people are leveraging this platform to educate themselves. It won't be long before most people take the next step and start creating content. The downside to that is that it's all generative AI. So it can be repeated over and over, and it probably will be. So we will see a flood of repetitive content in the very near future, in my opinion.
Right. And how are you using generative AI to create better content on your
Oh,
side?
yes. I'm so glad you asked. So I am taking AI and especially Chat GPT specifically, and I'm saying, write me a talk track about the top 10 talking points for cold prospecting emails. And I will allow it to populate and then read it. And I learn a lot that way, but I go back and I create my talk tracks. I go back and I write out my questions for my guests. I go back and I think about my prospects and how this particular point that was just made by Chat GPT might be interesting to them, and get them to respond to me because I need them to engage so that I can earn credibility and get a meeting. So when I use Chat GPT, it's not for something outward, right now. It's for something inward so that I can have the information for myself and use it as another arrow in my quiver to be able to fire off a relevant, respectable email to somebody that might be interested in having a conversation with me.
Love it. Yeah, I've been using it for pain points and using consulting mindset types of frameworks lately quite successfully in the onboarding phase with my clients. So quite interesting. James, thank you for coming today. I've got like one last question and try to answer that one quick, but what's next for you guys in Q2 and what's next for James in life?
Yeah, so travel abroad is definitely on my agenda. I got Mexico and Scotland coming up, and I think we're going to do Amsterdam after that.
Love it.
So that's what's next for me personally. Professionally, Sell Better is coming out swinging. We're still going to be live every single day for the unforeseeable future. And then I'll also say that we're very excited to be supportive of John Barrows getting back out there in the general public, flying around or doing virtual trainings for teams. So we're very excited that jbarrows.com is back, JB Sales is back, and doing what it does best, being out there supporting teams, giving them best practices, being very interactive. I think we're going to step up the interaction game very soon. AI is changing a lot about the way that we go to market and the way that we leverage that as a sales tool. So I think we're going to be doing a lot of internalized research and figuring out what the best way to leverage this from non-generative perspective is. But we're very excited because our network and our community of sales professionals is consistently growing right now. And all that means is that the space is so hungry for something like this. And we admire everybody that's out there putting great content together to help people level up and sell better.
Love it, man.